The stars were quiet that night. Deep in the black space between systems, a single small human ship moved slowly. It was not a warship. It had no weapons or soldiers. It was a science vessel, old and rusted from years of use. Inside it, one man sat alone. His name was Jack Nolan. Jack was not a soldier or a hero. He was just a researcher. He liked peace, books, and quiet skies. He had come to this part of space to study strange signals coming from a nearby system. He never expected trouble, but trouble came. His ship's radar picked up something large, fast, and not human. It came out of nowhere, a massive shape cutting through space like a knife. Before Jack could move or run, the alien ship had locked onto him. It pulled his small craft in with a force he could not fight. Jack felt the pull. Alarms screamed. Lights blinked red. Then everything went black. When he woke up, he was no longer on his ship. He was on a cold, hard floor made of dark metal. His head ached, and his hands were tied. The room around him was filled with strange lights and humming sounds. Then he saw her. The alien stood over 7 feet tall. Her skin was dark blue, almost like steel. She had sharp eyes, long arms, and claws that could tear through metal. Her armor was scarred from many battles. Her voice, when she spoke, was deep and strong. "You're not afraid of me, human?" she asked, her yellow eyes staring at him. Jack blinked. His mouth was dry, but he said no. The alien tilted her head. "Why not?" Jack gave a small smile. "Because fear doesn't help anyone. You already captured me. Being scared won't change that." The alien looked confused. She expected fear. All other species feared her. Her name was Velra, and she came from a planet known only as a Deathworld. On her world, only the strong survived. Creatures hunted each other daily. Firestorms and acid rain were normal. Life there was war. Velra had met many humans in battle. Before, they screamed, they cried, they ran. But Jack did none of that. He just sat there, calm, looking up at her, like she was an old friend. "You are strange," Velra said. Jack shrugged. "People tell me that sometimes." She didn't know what to do with him. Part of her wanted to scare him. Part of her wanted to understand him. She didn't like that he didn't act like prey. He didn't beg, didn't shout. "I could kill you," Velra said. "I know," Jack said, still calm. "Then why do you smile?" "Because you haven't killed me yet." Paused. It was true. She could have ended him with one strike. But she didn't. Something about him made her curious. His soft voice, his steady eyes, his lack of fear. Velra turned away. She spoke to one of her soldiers in her own language. They talked in harsh clicks and growls. Jack didn't understand, but he stayed still. He watched, waited. Minutes passed. Then Velra returned. She touched a small button on her belt. The bindings on Jack's wrists clicked open. He rubbed his arms, then stood slowly. "You are free to walk," she said. "Thank you," Jack replied, "but do not try to escape. This is my ship. You cannot run." Jack nodded. "I don't plan to run. I want to talk." Velra narrowed her eyes. "Talk?" "Yes. I think we both have questions." And so, they began to talk. Velra asked about Earth, about human history and weakness. Jack told her stories of human wars, art, love, and dreams. He told her about cities that touched the clouds and machines that flew to other stars. Jack asked about Velra's planet. She told him about wild beasts the size of buildings. She told him how young ones trained in fire pits and how only the strong lived past 10 years old. Her world was cruel, hard, but it made her strong. As they talked, something changed. Velra began to see Jack not as prey, but as something else. He was small and soft, but his spirit was not weak. He listened. He asked good questions, and he spoke with a kind heart. He told her on Earth we believe even the strongest should protect the weak. Velra scoffed. "The weak must be eaten. That's one way," Jack said. "But our way builds families, peace, even strength." In numbers, she looked at him. She did not agree. Not yet. But she listened. Later, As Jack sat in a small cell, not locked but not free, he thought about the strange day. He had been taken by a Deathworlder, a monster in the eyes of many. And yet she did not kill him. Maybe fear was not the answer. And maybe, just maybe, he had started something bigger than he could understand. Velra stood outside the human cell, arms crossed, thinking hard. She had fought many enemies, but this one was different. Jack Nolan did not have sharp teeth or strong claws. He had no armor, no weapons, but he had something strange inside him, kind of quiet strength. Confused her. She had expected him to break, to cry, or scream, or try to escape. But instead he talked to her. He asked questions. He even smiled. She didn't understand it. On her world, fear was normal. It kept people alive. But Jack didn't show fear. It's not even once. Velra returned to the room. Jack sat on a small bench looking at the floor. When he saw her, he gave a small nod. "Did you sleep well?" he asked. She tilted her head. "Sleep is not needed for me every night." Jack smiled. "I wish I had that ability." Velra sat across from him. For a long moment, they said nothing. Then she spoke. "On my world, children are trained to fight from the moment they can walk. I killed my first beast when I was 7. My brother died in the same battle." Jack nodded slowly. "That sounds hard. Who's normal? If you are weak, you die. If you are strong, you live. That is the law." Jack looked into her eyes. "But is it a good law?" Velra blinked. No one had ever asked that. No one ever questioned the way of her people. The strong ruled. That was how it had always been. "It keeps us sharp," she said. "But does it make you happy?" Velra stood up. She didn't like the question. Happiness is for the weak. Jack leaned back. Maybe. Or maybe happiness is another kind of strength. She walked away without another word. Later that day, Velra brought him food. It was not like human food, but Jack ate it. Anyway, he thanked her. She watched him with a strange feeling in her chest. She didn't understand it. He said thank you. No one ever said that to her. She started visiting him every day. They talked more. He told her about Earth, about music and rain and oceans. It spoke of families, of friends, of pets. Velra listened. One day Jack told her about his sister. She had been sick when they were young. He had stayed by her side, holding her hand every night. She had died, but he never left her alone. Velra said nothing. She didn't know what to say. Her people didn't talk about sadness. They hid it. But Jack showed his pain like it was part of him. Cared for her? Even though she was weak? Velra asked. Especially because she was weak, Jack replied. Velra sat quietly. Her thoughts were heavy. Another day passed. Yet another. Velra no longer saw Jack as a prisoner. She saw him as something else. A teacher, maybe. Or a mirror. One evening, the ship shook. Lights blinked red. A message came through. Another Devarn ship was nearby. Velra's tribe had enemies, and this ship was one of them. She rushed to the bridge. Her second in command, Grawl, looked worried. "They challenge your rule," he said. "They think you are weak, because of the human." Velra's jaw tightened. "Prepare for battle." Jack watched from his cell as alarms blared. He knew something was wrong. Moments later, Velra came to him. "I must fight. Stay here." Jack stood up. "Let me help." Velra stared at him. "You cannot fight. Maybe not like you." She hesitated, then nodded once. They moved through the halls quickly. Jack used his knowledge of systems and wires. He helped reroute power. He fixed a broken door, warned of pressure problems in the engine. Velra led her warriors into battle. Enemy ship boarded theirs. Fights broke out in the halls. Jack hid behind cover, but he watched carefully. At one point, Velra was pushed down by a large enemy. She was hurt. The enemy raised his weapon. Jack didn't think. He grabbed a metal pipe and hit the attacker from behind. The enemy fell. Velra got up. She looked at Jack, breathing hard. "You saved me." Jack nodded. "I couldn't let you die." Together, they and the crew pushed back the attackers. The enemy ship was forced to retreat. After the battle, Velra sat in the ship's medbay. Her arm was cut, But she was alive. Jack sat beside her. "You were brave," she said. "So were you," he replied. She looked at him for a long time. "Now I understand. You are not strong like me. But your strength is real. It is quiet, but it is there." Smiled. "And you're not as cold as you seem. You care, even if you try to hide it." Velra said nothing. But her eyes softened. She no longer saw Jack as prey. She saw him as a friend. The ship floated quietly in deep space. The battle was over, and the crew was busy repairing damage. Sparks flew from broken walls. Tools clanked. Voices gave short, sharp commands. But in a quiet corner of the ship, Jack and Velra sat together. Jack's hands were dirty from working with wires and panels. Velra had a bandage on her arm. They didn't speak at first. They just sat in silence. But it was not an awkward silence. It felt peaceful. Velra finally spoke. "I never thought a human would fight beside me." Jack looked at her. "I never thought a Deathworlder would let me." Velra smiled a little, but it was small and strange, like she wasn't used to smiling. She looked out the small window. "At the stars? Why are you like this?" she asked. Jack raised an eyebrow, like, "What? Not afraid? Not angry? You joke? You help? You care? It makes no sense to me." Jack leaned back. "Maybe it's just human nature. We've been through a lot. Earth isn't a death world like yours, but it's not easy either. We've had wars, disasters, pain, but we keep going." Velra thought for a moment. "Do you enjoy fighting?" "No," Jack said. "We fight when we must, but peace is the goal." Velra shook her head slowly. "Peace is weakness where I come from, is it?" Jack asked. "Or is it just harder to build than war?" She didn't answer. Later, Velra showed Jack around more of the ship. The crew gave him strange looks. Some glared. Others whispered. But no one touched him. Velra walked beside him, tall and strong. Her presence kept him safe. She showed him the training room. Warriors fought in pairs, fast and brutal. Jack watched as one soldier was knocked to the ground with a hard slam. Velra nodded toward them. "That's how we grow stronger. Every scar is a lesson." Jack looked around. "Do you ever lose someone you care about in training?" Velra was quiet. Then she said, "Yes, my younger cousin. She was fast, but not fast enough." "Sorry," Jack said. "She died proud," Velra replied. But her voice was soft. They walked into a room filled with weapons. Swords, spears, and guns lined the walls. Velra picked up a small blade with strange markings on it. "This was my father's," she said. "He died in battle. I carry this to honor him." Jack took a step closer. "Do you miss him?" "Yes," Jack nodded. "I miss people too." They stood there for a long moment, two people from different worlds, connected by something simple: loss. As days passed, the crew repaired the ship. Velra allowed Jack to help. He worked with the engineers, even though they didn't fully trust him. Over time, some of them began to nod at him. Few even said short words like thanks or good. Velra watched all of it with quiet interest. She began to talk with Jack more each night. She asked him about human emotions, about family, friendship, love. These things were not part of her culture. Her people believed love made you weak, that caring made you slow. But Jack showed her something different. He told her about his parents, how they argued sometimes but always forgave each other. He told her about his best friend on Earth, who once gave him food when he had nothing. He told her about the time he cried when his dog died. Velra listened closely. She shared stories too, stories of her people, of battles and honor, of blood and fire, but also of her mother, who once held her during a storm, of her friend she lost when she was just a child, things she had not told anyone in years. "You say humans are weak," Jack said one night, "but you are the one who carries pain without showing it." Velra looked at him. "I do not know how to show it." "You don't have to be afraid," Jack said softly. That made Velra laugh. A real laugh. "Afraid me?" Jack smiled. "Yes, you fear being soft, being open. It's normal. But it's okay." Velra's smile faded, but not completely. You confuse me, human. I get that a lot, Jack replied. That night, Velra sat alone in her quarters. She looked at a small metal object on the table. It was a symbol of her people, sharp and as cold. It reminded her of duty, of strength, of fear. But for the first time, she wondered if strength could be something else. The next day, Jack asked her a question. What will you do now? Velra thought. Return to my world. Prove I am still strong. Maybe prepare for more battles. Jack looked at her. Do you want that? Velra was silent for a long time. I don't know. And maybe it's time to choose a different path. She didn't answer, but something in her eyes had changed. That evening, she stood in front of the crew and said, This human fought for us, helped us, saved me. He is not weak. He is not prey. Treat him as one of our own. There were no cheers, no applause. But no one argued. Jack looked at her with surprise. Thank you, he said. Velra nodded. You're still strange to me. Jack grinned. Good. I like being strange. She shook her head but smiled. Something new had started between them. Not just respect, not just trust. Something more. Asterisk, the ship moved through deep space, quiet and steady. Repairs were done. The crew was calm, but Velra felt something in the air. Tension. A silence before a storm. Jack walked beside her in the hall. He noticed it too. Something's wrong, he said. Velra nodded. I feel it. My people trust strength. But now they question me. Jack looked at her because of me. Yes, they think I have gone soft. Jack stopped walking. Do you think that? Velra didn't answer right away. She looked at him. No, I think I've changed. And that scares them. That night, the alarm sounded. Velra rushed to the command deck. Jack followed. On the screen, another Devarn ship appeared. This one was bigger, heavily armed. It flew straight toward them. Who are they? Jack asked. Velra's face grew hard. They belong to Varnock, a rival leader. He has wanted my place for years. A message came through the speakers. A deep voice spoke in their language. Velra listened, then turned to her crew. He challenges. Me, she said. He says I've grown weak. He demands a duel. Jack looked worried. What will you do? Velra stared at the screen. I must answer. If I refuse, I lose everything. Can you win? Jack asked. I don't know, she said honestly. Jack stepped forward. Then let me help. Velra shook her head. This is my fight. I must. Face him alone. But Jack didn't step back. You're not alone anymore. Velra looked into his eyes. She saw truth there. It's not weakness, not fear, but loyalty still. She walked to the hangar alone. The duel was to take place on a nearby planet empty, rocky, dangerous. Velra and Varnock would meet there. The rules were simple. Only one would return. Jack stood in the hangar as Velra prepared. She put on her armor, checked her blade. Promise me something, he said. What? Come back, Velra gave a small smile. I'll try. She stepped into the pod and left. The planet was dry and cracked. Red dust blew in the wind. Velra landed and waited. Soon Varnock came. He was large, strong, and full of pride. You've grown soft, Velra, he said. Taking a human as your friend? That is shameful. Velra drew her blade. Strength is more than blood and pain. Then die with your new ideas, Varnock growled. The fight began. It was brutal. Fast. Each strike echoed across the rocks. Dust rose in clouds. Velra was skilled, but Varnock was stronger. Knocked her back. Her shoulder bled. Her blade cracked. On. The ship? Jack watched through the screen. His hands were tight. His heart beat fast. Velra dodged another strike. She tried to hit back, but Varnock blocked her, kicked her to the ground. You were a warrior once, he said. Now you are nothing. Velra looked up, breathing hard. She remembered Jack's words. You don't have to be afraid. Stood slowly. You're wrong, she said. I am still a warrior, but I have learned something you never will. What is that? Varnock sneered. Courage is not killing the weak. It is protecting them. With one last push, she charged. Ash! Her cracked blade found a weak spot in his armor. She drove it deep. Varno K fell. Velra stood over him, wounded but alive. She raised her voice to the sky. I have one. She returned to the ship in silence. The crew gathered. No one spoke for a moment. Then one warrior dropped to one knee, then another. And another. Jack stood in the back, watching. Velra walked toward him. Her face was bruised, but she smiled. You came back, Jack said. I promised. You did more than win, Jack said. You proved something. Velra nodded. I showed them a new kind of strength. Jack looked around. They're following you now. Not out of fear, but respect. Velra looked at her crew. Then at Jack. This began with a question, she said. Why you were not afraid. Now I understand. Fear is not the only way to lead. Jack smiled. I knew you'd figure it out, she shook her head. You taught me, without ever lifting. A weapon. That night, the ship was quiet again. This time, the silence was peaceful. Velra sat beside Jack in the observation room. Stars moved past the window. What now? Jack asked. Velra looked into space. Now we build something. New. Jack leaned back. Together. Yes, she said. Together. The ship floated quietly after the duel. Velra had won, but her wounds were deep. She spent most of her time in the medbay, healing. Jack stayed close, helping her however he could. He brought water, adjusted machines, and made her laugh with small stories. The crew respected her more now. They walked straighter when she passed. They obeyed faster. But something had changed in them too. They looked at Jack with new eyes. Not as a prisoner, but as someone who belonged. One day Velra sat up on the medbed. Her arm still hurt, but her mind was strong. I feel different, she said. Jack was sitting nearby, checking data on a small screen. He looked up. Different. How? I used to only feel strong when I want to fight. Now I feel strong when I talk to you, Jack smiled. That's because strength doesn't always come from power. Sometimes it comes from peace. Velra looked at him for a long time. I didn't believe that before. Well, Jack said you had reason not to. Your world taught you to survive, not to trust. She nodded slowly. But now I see. Trust can be power too. Days passed. Velra healed more each day. She walked through the ship again, giving orders and checking on systems. Jack stayed by her side, helping with repairs and speaking with the crew. Some warriors even asked him questions. One young soldier named Krell wanted to know more about Earth. Do your people train from childhood like us? Krell asked. Jack shook his head. Not like you. Some train to fight, but many train to heal, teach, or build. That sounds soft, Krell said. Soft doesn't mean weak, Jack replied. Our doctors save lives. Our builders make homes. Our scientists explore stars. Krell thought about it, then nodded. Maybe we can learn that too. Later that day, Velra and Jack stood in the command room. A map of space lit the table. Small red light blinked. That's my home, Velra said. Will you go back? Jack asked. I must, she said. But I don't know what I will find there. Jack stepped closer. You've changed. Maybe your people are ready to change too. Or maybe they will reject me, she said. Then you show them. Like you showed Varnock. With truth and courage. Velra looked at him. Will you come? With me? Jack paused. Are you sure? Yes. I want them to meet the human who is not afraid. A few days later, the ship arrived in Devarn's space. Velra's world appeared on the screen, large, dark, and wild. Thick forests, tall mountains, red oceans. It was beautiful in a harsh way. The ship landed near the capital city, built into the side of a rocky cliff. Strong towers rose from the stone. Warriors waited outside the ship, dressed in heavy armor. Velra walked out first. Jack followed, nervous but calm. The crowd whispered. Some looked at him with anger, others with curiosity. A tall warrior stepped forward. You bring a human. Why? Velra stood tall, because he showed me a strength greater than fear. He fought beside me, saved me, and he taught me. The warrior stared at Jack. What can a soft being teach us? Jack took a breath. That peace is not weakness. That kindness is not fear. That trust is not surrender. The warrior laughed. Big words from a small man. Jack didn't move. Your leader believes in me. That should be enough. Velra stepped forward. It is enough, and I will show you why. She gave a speech that day in the Great Hall. She told stories of the battle, of Varnik's challenge, of how Jack fought without weapons, using only his hands and heart. Some warriors laughed, but others listened. Velra pointed to Jack. He faced death with calm. He faced me without fear. If that is weakness, then I want more of it. The room was quiet. Then an older warrior stood. Maybe strength is more than claws and fire. Maybe it is time we learn from other worlds. Velra nodded. That is why I returned. Jack looked around. The people were still unsure, but they were thinking. That was enough that night. Velra and Jack stood on a high balcony. Stars above were bright and endless. You were brave today, Velra said. Jack smiled. I just spoke the truth. You always do, she said. Even when it's hard. They stood in silence for a while. Then Velra said, I want to build something. A place where humans and Devarn can learn together. A place for peace. Jack looked at her. That sounds like a dream. All good things start as dreams, she said. He nodded. Then let's build it. And under the stars of a wild world, two friends, one human, one Deathworlder, began something new. Not with fire, not with fear, but with hope. Asterisk, a new day began on Velra's world. The sun was red and strong in the sky. Warriors trained in the yards, but something had changed. The hits were still hard, the shouts still loud, but the eyes were different. They were curious now, not just angry. Jack stood near the edge of the training field watching. Some of the younger warriors waved at him. He waved back. Velra joined him, her arms crossed. They're starting to accept you. Jack nodded. Maybe, or maybe they're just waiting to see if I'll fall on my face. Velra smiled. Haven't yet, and they've noticed. Together, they walked through the city. The buildings were made of stone and metal. Sharp angles, strong shapes. It all felt heavy and cold, but Jack saw beauty in it now. The world reflected its people toughed on the outside, full of history and meaning. They passed a group of elders sitting in a circle. One of them, a woman with white hair and gold armor, stood up. You are the human, she said to Jack. Yes, he answered politely. You speak strange ideas. You say peace is better than war. I say peace can be strong too. The elder looked at him for a moment, then slowly sat back down. She didn't argue. That was enough. Later, Jack sat in a large hall filled with children, young Devarn, not yet old enough to train with weapons. They looked at him with wide eyes. One child raised her hand. Do humans fight with their teeth? Jack laughed. No, we fight with our minds. Another child asked, what is a song? Jack took out a small device and played music. A slow, peaceful tune filled the room. The children went quiet. Some closed their eyes. One began to sway gently. Velra watched from the door. She didn't speak, but she smiled. That night, she and Jack sat in a quiet room high in the cliffs. A fire burned low in the center. They drank a warm drink made from local plants. It was bitter, but calming. This world is changing, Jack said. Yes, Velra agreed, because of you. Because of us, he corrected. She nodded. We still have enemies. Not all Devarn agree with me. Some think I've lost my way. Do you think that? No, she said. I think I found a new one. The next day, a small group of warriors came to Velra's home. They were dressed for battle, their eyes hard. Their leader stepped forward. We do not trust this new path. You forget who we are. Velra stood calmly. I remember who we are. But I also know who we can be. You speak of peace. But we were born in fire. Fire can destroy, she said, but it can also give light. The warrior said nothing. He turned and left, but he didn't raise his weapon. Jack looked at Velra. That was close. Yes, she said, but we are still standing. Weeks passed. The city began to change slowly. A new hall was built, one for learning. Velra invited humans to visit. Scientists, teachers, and builders came from Earth. They brought books and tools, not weapons. Some Devarn were afraid. Others were angry. Many were curious. Jack helped them talk. He explained human ways and listened to Devarn traditions. He learned their stories and shared Earth's history. The two cultures started to understand each other. One day, a ship from the United Earth Assembly arrived, brought a message. Velra was invited to speak at Earth's Grand Council, a sign of peace, a first step toward alliance. Velra looked at Jack. Will you come with me? He smiled. You'll need a translator. They boarded the human ship together. Velra sat in a chair built for her size. Jack showed her how to use the controls. She was a quick learner. When they reached Earth, the view took her breath away. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. It was soft. It was alive. It was beautiful. The council hall was full of leaders from many worlds. They watched as Velra stepped to the front. She looked at them all. Then she spoke. I was born on a world that teaches fear. I was raised to kill, to survive. I thought strength meant making others bow. But then I met a human who was not afraid. Of me, she paused. He did not fight me with blades or fists. He fought with ideas, with patience, and with hope. She turned to Jack and nodded. I did not understand it at first, but now I do. Fear is not respect. Silence is not peace. True strength is not just in battle. It is in understanding. The hall was quiet. Then someone stood and clapped, then another. And another. Jack stood beside Velra. He looked at her and said softly, You did it. She looked at him. We did it. They stepped out of the hall into the sunlight. Sky was blue and wide. What now? Jack asked. Velra took a deep breath. Now we begin again. Together they walked forward, not as human and Deathworlder. Not as enemies or even strangers, but as something new, as allies.